How's it going, everyone? K-Limited here, and today we are going to be talking about a looter shooter on the Xbox Series X. We are going to be talking about the first Descendant. The first Descendant is basically Destiny. If you've ever played Destiny, you know what to expect from this game. It is basically a Destiny clone, and I don't know if there's really ever been a Destiny clone before, but maybe we're going to start seeing them, because this is definitely what this game is. Now, I will say I actually do enjoy this game more than Destiny, because I just like the gameplay more, and I like, I don't really care too much about the story in either game, if I'm being honest. Like, the story in this game, I really didn't pay much attention to, because I really didn't care about it, but I really didn't care about the story in Destiny either, to be honest. I just like the gameplay of these looter shooters. I like the kind of cycle of going in, doing a lot of grinding, getting better guns to do, harder missions later on and stuff like that. And I think that gameplay loop is pretty fun. And that's basically what you're doing this entire game. You're running through a bunch of missions. Each mission, you will get XP until you hit level 40. And then once you hit level 40, you basically have to focus on just getting better guns and upgrading your guns and stuff like that, because the guns will then basically be the how you're going to level up. It's really weird. Think of the light level in Destiny, if you know what that is. Basically, even though you can't level up anymore, you can still get like level 90 guns and stuff, and you'll be able to take on level 90 bosses that way. It's a really weird way of doing it. I personally just wish that these looter shooters would just kind of just have the level cap be endless, instead of doing these weird things where you have to get certain guns to be a higher level. But it's the way these looter shooters work. Every single one that I've played that's similar to it, it works like that. I'm not a fan of it, but it's just how they do. I've even played some MMOs just in general that do that, and again, just make the level cap endless if you want to do that. Personally, that's why I think they should do. Just make the level cap endless. But either way, that's how it's set up. This game is almost identical to Destiny in terms of the way it looks and the way it plays even. The biggest difference you're going to notice is that this game is third person instead of first person, and the characters are pretty much all just like super attractive. And that's basically the only difference between this and Destiny. This game also has a bit of a different mechanic. It has a few different mechanics when it comes to actual combat and using your special weapons and stuff. They added a grappling hook and stuff like that, so it has a few different things that you can do. It has more platforming than Destiny did also. There's a lot more platforming areas. But in terms of the actual missions, it's very similar to Destiny, where a lot of time it's like going up to something, guarding an objective for a few minutes, destroying the enemies around it, and then going and guarding something else and doing the same thing over and over again. Very similar style to Destiny. One of the other major differences, too, is that you cannot create your own character. You basically have to pick one of the, pre-existing characters to play as, and once you pick that one character, you have to basically grind to get any other character. You have to get a lot of material to get a lot of the other characters. So some characters are easier to unlock than others, but there's some of them that I've already looked at and I'm just like, yeah, there's no way I'm going to be getting this character. And that's where one of the negatives comes into play, because while I don't mind the grind, in fact, I think part of the fun of this game is grinding to unlock the characters and get the characters you want and stuff like that. You can also just buy them outright, and I get it, it's a free-to-play game, they need to make their money somehow. I prefer if they just use skins to make their money back instead of making, actual characters locked behind paywalls, but it is what it is. That's what they decided to do. I just personally, I don't agree with it. Yes, you can grind for an insane amount of time and unlock these characters, but you're going to be doing that for a very long time to get some of them. So there's definitely a benefit to just paying for the characters, and I never paid for anything in this game. I went through the entire game without paying for it, and through the entire game, like for the main story that's there right now, I should point out, this game obviously isn't finished. It's something that's going to be continuing on as it goes. But for what's there, it took me around 36 hours to complete, and maybe a little bit more. And I still enjoyed everything I played, and I'm not going to go through all in the hard mode on the missions. I don't care about playing through them on hard mode. I don't really care about doing the final. There's one last Colossi battle, which is basically a giant boss battle, and it's called the Hangsman. I'm probably not going to do that one either. I've tried to do it, but it turns out you really have to be really strategizing with your teammates to be able to do it, and I'm just not really interested in doing that. I'd rather just just not do it at that point. Trying to get everybody on the same page, a bunch of random people on the same page to do this just doesn't sound like my sort of thing. I do like a lot of the enemy designs. I think a lot of the enemies are pretty cool, and a lot of the enemies are fun to fight. I do like the different planets that you go to. Not planets, but different regions that you go to as well. The different regions you go to, I think each one looks pretty cool, and it feels very distinct. Towards the later end of the game, it does feel like they kind of ran out of ideas, and they kind of just got a little bit lazy towards the end. But for the first, 20 hours, the first 20 hours of this game are really, really fun, and then it starts becoming a little bit sluggish after that. But either way, I still enjoyed the majority of what I played of this game, and the Colossi battles, whenever you go in to fight these gigantic bosses, they're actually a lot of fun to do, and to try to figure out their weak points and stuff like that. I do think it's a lot of fun. I do have some problems with some of these fights. I don't like that there's a lot of one-hit kill abilities that these bosses have. I never agree with bosses having a one-hit kill ability in any game, because to me that just feels like way too artificial difficulty. That feels way too artificial. It doesn't feel like a real challenge. It just feels like kind of a cheap death, and I've never been a fan of one-hit kills in any game that has boss battles, so I'm not a fan of that. I don't like that. In fact, on the Hanged Man boss, I was talking about that earlier, there's literally a mechanic that will team wipe everyone in one hit if you don't do something right, and I'm not a fan of that type of stuff. To me, that feels cheap. It's not my thing. I don't like that. I also don't like it when bosses heal, and there are some bosses that can heal in this game, and again, I just don't like that. To me, that's a lazy mechanic. Just, make the boss how it is. Let us fight it. It doesn't need to be able to heal itself during combat. These fights are difficult enough. You're already sending hordes of enemies alongside the boss. It doesn't need these little side gimmicks to, be even more difficult and just rage-inducing. So that would be my only complaint about the boss fights of this game. The game itself, though, it is fun, and for a free game, you can't really go wrong with it. It's a fun third-person shooter that has a lot of different areas to go to. It does feel a little bit bland in some areas, just because it really doesn't have a personality of its own. It feels like Destiny more than anything. The personality comes more from the actual character designs than anything, because this game definitely goes its own way in terms of having its characters to look the way they want, which I respect, and I think that more game companies should do that. But at the end of the day, it still feels so similar to Destiny. It's really hard for this game, I feel like, to have its own identity right now. And they can definitely give it more of its own identity as they build upon it. Since this game is probably not even close to being done, they'll probably have, quite a few more years of this game going on. I'd say that they can keep building on this game and eventually give it its own unique, identity. But right now, it just kind of feels like Destiny with waifus. That's basically what it feels like. And I hope that they can eventually break away from that and do something a lot better with what they have, especially with the story too, because the story just, right now, it's just not interesting. Again, the story in Destiny wasn't interesting. The thing about Destiny that was fun was the gameplay, and it's the same thing with this game. The gameplay is really fun in this, and that's going to be what's keeping you attracted to it. The story's probably not going to keep you attracted to it, and the enemy names and stuff like that, the enemies are, while they're fun to fight, they use a lot of the same enemies over and over again too, I will say. Like, I fought cloned Greg very often. If you've played this game and you fought clone Greg, you know what I'm talking about. You fight clone Greg a few times in this game, and I'm not a fan of fighting that many cloned versions of Greg. But, it is what it is. What can you do about it? It's still a free-to-play game, and considering it's free, and I still got 36 hours out of it, or even a little bit more than that, it's free. Play it. Try it out, and if you like it, you like it. You don't, you don't. And then you never have to look at the game again. Just delete it if you don't like it. There you go. You're not losing anything by playing it, so you might as well check it out. The only thing you're losing is your time if you don't like it, and, you'll probably be able to figure out if you like this game within the first couple hours of it, so there you go. Thank you so much for watching. Go check out the first Descendant. It's very playable. It's very fun. It's not perfect. It definitely doesn't have its own identity yet. It has some glitches, including audio glitches. That's mainly the main thing I noticed. But it's still a lot of fun. I still enjoy it for what it is. It's a free-to-play game. You might as well check it out. And I hope that they keep building on this game. And as it builds, it could get way better, or it could actually become worse. That's happened before, too, in the past. So I can only review it based on what's there right now. And right now, it's pretty fun for a free-to-play game. And like I said, I haven't spent a single dime on this game, and you really don't have to. I wouldn't spend any money on this game as of right now. I want to see what they're going to do more of in the future before I start spending money on a game like this, because this game could easily, like, we're getting a taste of it right now. 36 hours is a pretty good chunk of gameplay, but it's still, like, I don't know if I want to put money down on anything yet, especially because really all that's there is you can unlock characters or you can unlock cosmetics, and I really don't care about either of those things. So it's up to you whether you want to spend money on this game or not. But thank you so much for watching. I will talk to you in the next video. Go check out the first Descendants. I'll see you next time. You have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.